Hello and welcome back everyone to Master Blender 3D with Wild West Environment. In the last lesson we left ourselves off with some bolts and now we're going to go ahead and attach them onto our curve. The reason this curve is needed is because we're going to be setting this bolt up with an array mesh. And for us to do that, we're going to go on to the Modifiers tab located at the bottom right hand corner over here. We're going to start off by clicking Add Modifier and searching for array. So when we click on the modifier, we can just search for it right away, select array. And to start off, we're going to just increase the count. And afterwards, we're going to need to then deform it for this curve. So for us to do that, we're going to click on add modifier again. We're going to search for curve, deform curve. Let's add it in. And then we'll notice that there is another modifier right underneath the array. We're going to click on curve object pipette over this symbol over here. And we're going to select the Bezier curve that we created, just like that. So you can see that this is what we're going to get. It's going to start moving around the section, but you'll notice that it's not exactly aligned. The reason being is that we need to make sure that this is set up nicely to where the setup of the Bezier curve is. In other words, the origin point that we see at the center when we click on the curve, this orange dot over here, this has to be aligned with our setup over here, with this origin point that we have all the way on the left hand side. We can see that it is centered to the bolt that we have like so. And if you're wondering, by the way, how I disabled this curve, we can use these icons over here. These icons are very nice whenever we want to disable or enable them from whether it's render view or viewport or even edit mode. So for example, right now this button is turned off, but if I go to edit mode, you'll see that it goes back. The reason being is that in edit mode, it just goes to a different view essentially, and the array itself will not have that ticked off, but the curve will have it ticked off, and that's why we're not able to see it. We can turn this on, for example, if we want to, and see them back on, but again, it's probably for the best to keep this as is. All right, so the next thing is going to be going back. We need to put this origin point to be aligned with the bolts that we have over here. So for us to do that, we're going to firstly, just in case, we're going to go ahead and reset the curve setup with the 3D cursor, that is. We're going to select off on the curve, we're going to click Shift and S, we're going to cursor to active, there we go. And then we're going to select the bolt, we're going to click Shift and S, and we're going to do selection to cursor. Essentially what this will do is, if I was to disable both of the modifiers, this is just going to move this origin point to where the 3D cursor is, which I just moved by accident, sorry about that. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to click Shift and S, selection to cursor, and now it's going to be positioned right in the center. If we enable both of them on like this, we'll see that now it follows perfectly with the curve setup. So that's really nice and useful because both of these, the bolt and this curve, are perfectly aligned. We can also offset it if we want to, clicking GZ and moving it up and down and whatnot. So that's quite nice. But the next thing that we need to do is, well, probably we need to rotate them around a little bit because they're facing upwards vertically. We can click RX 90 and that's just going to flip them, or sorry, we're going to do minus 90. So RX minus 90, we can also put minus symbol at the end whenever we write that in. And that's just going to give us this nice setup. And if you notice, all we do is simply just rotate this around. So instead of it facing upwards, it's now facing sideways, which is exactly what we want. The next thing that we want to do is make sure that it follows the curve accordingly with the whole length. One way we could do it is we could use just relative offset over here and just offset it manually, but that would be a little tedious, especially if we want to change the count type. Another way we can do it is to use fit type to change it to fit curve. And we're going to select this curve over here. Now it's going to be perfectly spread out across this entire curve. And I believe, yeah, if we start making it larger, smaller, and if we use the relative offset with that on, we're going to be able to just have the right amount of offset. We just need to make sure that we see the original one where it is, because if we get it too close, we're going to see that it's just the pattern is going to be a little off. So whilst holding shift, I'm just going to readjust that, and I'm just going to make it around 3 meters like this. I can see that the one that was getting closer disappeared. Now that way we have ourselves a reasonable offset. I'm going to just select the curve now and reposition this a little bit to get closer to the setup. There we go. And let me think, we should probably make these quite a bit smaller as well. Actually, after this setup, I'm going to just hold shift again and reposition this a little bit like so. All right. Afterwards, we should probably make this smaller. So I'm going to go on to edit mode. I'm going to click A to select the entire setup. I'm going to just click Alt Z so we can see what's going on. This is in the center. And then I'm going to just click S to scale it down. And to see what's going on, actually, I'm going to enable this in edit mode as well, the curve deformer. So this way, we know how big it's going to be. And actually, yeah, this looks pretty good. I like this. I'm just going to readjust the offset again. There we go. And I think this looks pretty good. All right. The other thing that we need to do is probably going to be just duplicating it upwards. So I'm going to click Shift D, GZ, move this upwards. I'm not too worried about the gizmo over here because it only starts acting up whenever we offset it from the center point. But right now, in regards to Z value, it's going to be still kept to that nice deformer going all the way around. So that's quite nice for us. I'm quite happy with this. We only need to think about this last piece going upwards. So I'm going to again select this, click Shift D, GZ, move this upwards like so. Going to now click 7 and GY, move this outwards. So right now we were talking about not moving the origin point, and now we're actually going to make use out of the origin point by offsetting it, even though this is still using that same curve, the same Bezier that we had over here. If I was to just going to go to wireframe mode. So this Bezier curve over here, we're going to make use out of it. But by just simply offsetting it, so GY, we can move this off to the side and reposition it to the way we want it. So we want this to be close to the edge like this, GY, like so. So even though we're expanding right now the radius by just moving it outwards, these are not changing in scale, and that's exactly what we want. We want consistency with the bolts. The only thing though is that now we need to readjust the way this is set up. So I'm going to go on to edit mode, going to click Alt Z so we can see what's going on inside. And I'm going to click RX and just move this like so. You can see the inside, this mesh over here, RX, just slightly changing direction. And that is exactly what we want. And I think that's quite nice. I think the origin point was a little offset, but that's okay because we're able to just reposition it normally like so. Maybe a little bit like this. And I'm going to click, go back onto object mode, click GY, sorry, select them back, go click GY and then move them outwards a little bit. Is that better? I think they're a bit too close to edge, so GY, going inwards, GZ, like this, I think. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. All right, so we're pretty much done with the bolts. Now we're going to continue on with the setup in regards to texturing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you in a bit.